Hello, welcome to this brief tutorial on doing the animated stories on PowerPoint for those teachers who do TPRS in their classroom, teaching proficiency through reading and storytelling. This is basically the step-by-step what I do to create all my stories in class that you saw all the examples and explanations at our at the Michigan World Language Association conference this past October. Okay, so you might want to download GIMP, G-I-M-P, the software which is free, which quickly allows us to crop out images we need for our PowerPoint, and go ahead and open up PowerPoint as well, and open up a web browser, Google Chrome or whatever browser you use, and go to Google and set the image tab so we can start finding images as well. And you can go ahead and pause the video here and do all that, and then play when you're ready. Okay, so I already have PowerPoint open, and the first thing that I do is I come over here and I delete the text boxes because we don't need those. So I just kind of highlight it with the mouse and I hit the delete key on my keyboard. Okay, then I come over here to the left. I right click, I hit copy because I want a few slides. I want a few blank slides. So I hit the control key and the letter V on the keyboard, or I can right click paste, but I use the quick commands sometimes. Here I can right click and paste another slide and do the same thing, but it's so much faster to do control and V on the keyboard. So I'll make 9 slides. If I need less, I can delete them if I don't need them at the end. Now this assumes you already have your 10 to 15 sentence story that you wrote out for your language class. But for these purposes, we're just going to say that the theme of the story has something to do with school life, which is a typical theme in a chapter in any World Language Level 1 class. So I already have the PowerPoint open, and I already have a couple images I already looked for to save time here. And we're going to start off with, let's say, a school hallway. So I typed in school hallway in the search engine, and I found this one, and this one seems fine. Or I could use this one if I want. Well, let's just we'll use this one. Okay, so I come over, I right click, and I copy the image. I don't need to save the image, I just need to copy it. I come over to PowerPoint, and then I'm on first slide, so I right click and hit click paste, or I can do control V on the keyboard. And I go ahead and I take the corner of it with the crosshairs and I enlarge it and kind of doing a little adjustment just like so, and now I have it as my whole background. Now I might want to use the same background again, so rather than doing the whole paste again on this slide and so on and so forth, I come over here and I copy. And if I control V on the keyboard, then I have a couple more images. Or yeah, now I've repeated the background a few times. We'll just stick for 2 for these purposes. It depends. It depends on how involving your animation will be in a given background scene. But we're just going to stick with 2 for right now and keep it simple. And I'm just going to go ahead and do this for a couple things and get all my backgrounds in there. I decided that in my story she's going to be going into a classroom, the character. So copy this image, go back to PowerPoint, and bring that in there. Enlarge. And then she's going to go into the cafeteria. So here's a picture of a cafeteria I found. Right click, copy the image, go back to PowerPoint, paste that in there, enlarge that for the background. Okay, there's no real set order to do all this. If you don't want to go into a different scene yet and you want to do it later on as you're creating it, it's really up to you. Whatever you want to start with first. So now at this point I went ahead and I found a picture of a student. In the Google search engine I just typed in middle school student standing. You can do student standing, teenager standing. A lot of times standing is a good word to put in a search engine because then you have like more of a, somebody like a sort of like a stock photo, and you've got most of their body there. So I have a picture of her, and now I want to crop her out from this blank space, this white space in the back. Because if I just copy the picture, you're going to get all this as well. I just want her body. Okay. So I right click. I'm not going to hit copy the image this time, but rather save the image. And then desktop, and then I'll title it student, whatever I want. Student with books. And I already have that done because I already saved it. She's right here already. And I put it on the desktop for easy access because I'm not going to ultimately save these images. Okay, so I'm going to minimize everything, and there she is, right there. And there's GIMP. That's the shortcut that it looks like, a fox with a paintbrush sticking out of its mouth. Alright, so I can do two things. I can just open up GIMP, or I can just go to my picture and right-click the picture and go to Open With, and then scroll over to GIMP. Okay, and there she is. I come over here to this toolbox that opens up with the software, and I click on the scissors, and then I come over to wherever I want to start, and I start with the left button on the mouse, and I just start clicking constantly with the left button on the mouse, and I'm moving my hand at the same time, tracing around her. Now, see how it kind of gets jagged there? Now, if you keep clicking a lot faster and moving ever so slightly, then you get a little bit more precision. But I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on that because I think you have the idea. It depends on how great of a crop you want. Once I get to this point, I click the first dot that I started at and connect everything. Then I move over to the picture and I left click, and now it highlights it. Now I right click with the mouse and I scroll to edit, and I scroll down to cut. Now she's cut out. Okay, now I go to PowerPoint. I go back to my first slide, come over here, and then I can right click paste, which will just do that, or I can do my commands on the keyboard. And there she is. I can just take this, crosshairs at the corner, scroll her down, kind of bring her to size a little bit based on the background. And there she is. Now, when it comes to custom animation stuff, if you want, rather than having images entering and images exiting, sometimes it's just easy just to make a couple of the same slide. So if I come back over here, I can right click and hit copy, and then I can paste, and I've got two slides with her in there. Okay. The same thing, rather than copy her, then come to this blank one and paste her back in. If I want her in the same spot, I can just copy and paste from the pane slide here. The pane. Okay, so we don't need that for now. Alright, now we're going to have her move. Let's just say she's going to enter the classroom late. And that's part of the story. So I'll go ahead and take her, copy her, come into the classroom, paste her in, slide her over here, and what I want, I can come here and I can kind of, I can reverse the image, this way, okay, just because of the angles and stuff like that. Because sometimes with pictures and what pictures I want, you're kind of looking at the angle of things as well, what you're trying to envision. So I have her over here. So what I'm going to do is I have her highlighted. See, right now the background's highlighted, and now she's highlighted. I click on whatever image I want to work with in custom animation. And once again, you go to custom animation up here, and then you click here. Whoops. And there you go. Let's scroll this over just a little bit. Now she's highlighted, and now we have this custom animation pane over here. So I hit Add Effect. And I don't want her just to come. I want to specifically have her come in a certain way. I don't want any of these programmed entrances. So what I'll do is I go to Motion Paths, and then I scroll down to Draw Custom Path, and then I come over here to Freedom, and I click. Now I have a little crosshair. I go ahead and left click my mouse on her, and then I just move my hand with the pencil into the class like this. I let go, double click when you're done, and then here she comes into the class. And it kind of gives you a little preview. And in which case what I can do, let's see, sometimes if I want to go to the next slide, like she comes right about there, so what I might end up doing is I come over here, I can make another slide, and I can take out this animation and put her right where that animation stops on the slide before, because you might want other things going on now. She comes into the room and then you want some other things to pop up on the screen. It's just so that you're not doing it all on one slide and there's just so much busy animation in that. So I just figure I'll copy the slide, and so there's less effects to kind of do to make things enter and make things exit. That just makes things complicated. And so there she is. But I'm going to go ahead and take her again, copy, and let's kind of get her moving in the cafeteria. So we'll paste her in there. I just use the short command. I can just have her here when I go to the next slide, which I will because I've already showed you how to like bring her in. She doesn't have to walk into the cafeteria. You can if you want, but. And let's say she wants to order a sandwich. So I went ahead and I grabbed for, let's see, I found a sandwich, and I want to crop this out. Or you don't have to crop it out. In fact, I'm not going to crop this out because it's just a picture of a sandwich. So in which case I don't need to save it because I'm not going to crop. I'm just going to hit copy, come back here, Control V or right click paste. Got my sandwich in there. Shrink it down a little bit. So the script might say something like, she's going to the cafeteria, she doesn't know what she wants to order, she decides to order a sandwich. However your TPR script goes, which is quite repetitive in nature. And now she has a sandwich. And at any time, let's say she's in here at this point, we can add the effect to have it bounce in, or you can pick whatever one you want to have it enter if you want, just like so. And you know what? I want to do one thing here. I'm actually going to have her come in to the cafeteria. So we're going to move her over just a little bit. She's highlighted. Once again, we go to Motion Paths to draw the custom path to Freedom, and then we'll just have her come in. Double click. Here she comes. Now, if you notice, you can play preview things right here. So I'll hit play. The sandwich comes in, and then she comes in. But I didn't want the sandwich to come in first, so if I go over here and I hold down with my left mouse, I can shift this. I can shift the order. And now when you play it, it looks just like this. So she comes in, and then here comes the sandwich. But obviously, you click each time. You have to click. So when you're in the full screen presentation mode, one click moves her in, but then you have to click the arrow on the keyboard or click the mouse, and then the sandwich comes in. But let's say you want both to come in at the same time. So what I do is I take the picture of the sandwich, I right click on the animation pane, and I click to start with previous. So when I hit play, you'll see both come in at the same time with just one click. And whenever you want to check things, I just hit the F5 key on the keyboard, which gives us the full presentation, because this is how you present it to your class. And then you could either hit the mouse or the arrows on the keyboard. I prefer the arrows because there's a lot of like going back and restating something, so you have to go back to the previous slide, and that's just a very burdensome if you do it with the mouse. So I kind of full screen and look to see, make sure everything's fine here. So I click. Here she comes into the classroom, and there she is for her next slide. If I want something else, like she forgot her calculator or something, and I can put like a thought bubble above her head, and a picture of a calculator will appear. If I want to do something like that, Now we're here, so one click that moves to the next slide, but then I have to click again so that those things come up, just like so. And one other thing, just in case, because you're probably going to find yourself having to layer things at some point maybe, where you layer two images. So here's the sandwich. It's in front of her face. But let's say I want this out here, whatever you have an image where you want maybe some sort of overlap. So I click on her, and I right click, and notice it says bring to front. So I click bring to front, and now she's in front of the sandwich. So that's about it. There's a lot of things you can experiment with. When I make stories, I do them quite quickly. Once I get my script, I envision everything that I'm going to create, and the more you do it, the more you just know exactly what you're going to do. And yeah, I think it's very fun and engaging for the kids in class. And I guess that's it. If you have any questions, feel free and email me. And I guess that's it. Have a good day.